I just heard my mailwoman open up her truck. It's like the ice cream truck because I know it's arriving today.
I wonder if I changed my number, would you wanna know? It's the coldest kind of comfort that we could talk but we don't. We spent summer swimming in a sunset.
I have something very exciting here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Tabitha Carr. I make videos about my lifestyle, which includes like acting and writing and things like that. So today is a very fun day. We're doing our very first reading vlog. So I wanted to share the moment with you guys. Been not so patiently waiting for the past year. I can see a sneak peek. Usually I get my books from the library, and then if I love the book, then I buy the book. So it's not often that I actually have a hard copy on my first read through. It's so pretty. It's a little creased, but that's okay. It'll be creased by me. Ooh, Christopher Paolini. He did like the, I guess it's the Inheritance Cycle, but it's the Aragon books. It says, Rebecca Yarros has created some awesome dragons, proud, beautiful, and full of unique magics. That's really sweet. Okay. The back. I will not die today. I will save him. Violet Sorengale's personal addendum to the Book of Brennan. I don't even sometimes like reading the back or reading like the insert because it gives sneak peeks or it sets up like the premise or maybe like the conflict that they're having in the book. So I'm gonna stop reading there. You know, these are pretty. I kind of thought they were gonna be the gold. They look gold, but really they're just like cut out of the paper, if that makes sense. Like it's just paper color, but it's really pretty. This is so exciting. See, okay, like any of this, like, it sounds so bad. I don't read content warnings because I don't like that it spoils the game. Or in gaming too, I don't read content warnings with games, and I don't read content warnings in books because I want to just read the book. I understand their purpose and I appreciate their purpose and who they're for. So it's not a signed copy, but that's okay. I do have my Iron Flame is signed. I don't have a copy of Fourth Wing yet though, because I just haven't found one that's like pretty with a pretty design. So usually I will just go ahead and take off the dust jacket so I don't damage the dust jacket. Doesn't really have a book smell yet. Let's get reading. Gotta bust these bad boys out. Let's go. This is where I keep like all my little activity corner type things. So I have some invisible post-it notes so you can see the text under your post-its. So I'll grab one of these out. I've got to put that away. It's gonna bother me. Okay. And then I have some highlighters that my best friend got me. I want a, here it is, relatively like dry pen, so it doesn't smear and it dries quickly. Usually in my day-to-day life I use a little bit more of a wet pen, but for our purposes I want it to be dry.
You know, I think there's There's no such thing as the perfect timing. If you wanna see it, then you'll see the silver lining.
So now we are going to pick a bookmark, which is very fun. I'll show you my little stash I have over here. I really like a found bookmark. So sometimes like a receipt, or like I love using the little Starbucks stoppers for a bookmark. Those are great. I also have like, let's see, just over here in my little corner, I have pictures of me and Travis, pictures from our first date. I also, this is from, just Barnes & Noble, kind of boring one. This one is also Barnes & Noble, but that one's a pretty one. I got this one from my best friend's wedding. This was her, oh, sorry, the male woman is here. I got this one from my friend's wedding. This was her, like, what is that called? Like a send away gift kind of thing. This one is good, but it's very thick and I worry about it like scratching the edges since they're like colored, you know? I don't want to nick them. I also like this one. I got it from Disney, so it's like all of the, from the Festival of the Arts, it's all of the, it's kind of like an It's a Small World theme. And I think it's supposed to be the different like around the world countries. Only problem is, well, it might not be a problem. It's quite tall. With this one. See, this one would like just be consumed by the book. I also have a teeny tiny little Draco Malfoy. He's honestly really nice because it's like a magnet, and so it just slips right over the page. Okay, maybe I'll start with this one and see how I like it, because that is really cute. Okay, you spent 3 minutes talking about which bookmark you're gonna use. Just pick one. So what I usually like to do is I like to set my bookmark where I want to get to, like my goal for like my reading session, which that's like way too much. I was like on a page, like page 100. It's like, I'm probably not gonna get to page 100 in my first little reading session, but maybe I'm gonna, ooh, that's actually perfect. I'm going to set my goal to chapter 6 and it's page 50. I'm nervous, I'm excited, but I just feel like it's gonna be like mind-blowing. Like the other 2 books in the series have just like fully enraptured me, like captured my attention. Like I've been so invested in the characters and in the story, and it just, I never know where it's gonna go, and it just amazes me. I haven't been this invested in a book in a while. Like, I mean, I really loved the ACOTAR series, but I feel like this one just really, I don't know, there's something about it. Speaking of my highlighters, it always makes me so nervous to like permanently put something in a book. I'll show you my Twilight books. Like, I'm definitely one to like sort of like bend it backwards. I know it's a bad habit that I learned from my dad, but it's something I'll carry with me. Something that reminds me of him. Now that smells like a dang book right there. You gotta catch up. And I do love a softback, but anywho, like, so I definitely have like proof of reading, but I've never like, you know, wrote in the margins. That's why I do really like having these clear ones, because I can make notes, but I'm still nervous to highlight. But I'm going to commit. It doesn't matter. I know that these books tend to have a higher like resale value, but like that's not why I get my books. I get my books to have my books forever. I am going to pick out fun little like reading ambience. I did find this one before the book came out, and I just think it's fun because there's little like dragons that come around. I'm probably gonna go with this one. It's so cute. I am kind of worried though that sitting right here in the sun is going to be a little hot, so I might change my shirt real quick. I do think my outfit is cute. Let me show you before I start. Outfit for today. I just think it's really cute. So I have these like I call them yoga pants. I don't know what people are calling them nowadays, but to me, these are the classic yoga pants. I want to say they're called like bell-bottom leggings, but to me, they're yoga pants. And then I have a really pretty little gold chain. I don't know. I think I got this from my mom's closet, so who knows where it's from. But it's also dual-sided for silver. So I thought that looked cute with this neckline. This neckline is kind of hard sometimes to get jewelry to set just right, so I thought that was pretty. And then I have these earrings that I got for Christmas. I can pin the vlog where I got them. I got them from a local jeweler, so that's fine. I think we're ready. I don't have a drink. I might just get my water because I'm really freaking thirsty and I already finished my coffee, so I'm just gonna drink water. This is actually a really comfortable seat. I don't sit over here in the window like too much, but I've always dreamed of having a window seat like this. So before I end up moving away from this apartment, I need to sit here more. Well, I've already noticed a typo. She says, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's only on page 3. Middle of the page. It's supposed to be now give me the key. I don't know, that would be really hard to like work really hard on something and there still be like a typo that ends up in print. Like, that would just be a bummer as like a creator, you know? It kind of works out because I planned on reading for like 30 minutes just for now. Because I still need to go to the gym. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll also just try to get to the end of chapter 3 and then I'll start getting ready to go to the gym. Well, at 4:30 on the dot, I finished chapter 3. So that worked out. And I left on, I don't want to say anything spoilerly, but something was starting to happen at the end of chapter 3. So it's good to like be like, you know, excited to get back to reading. Not that I'm not excited to read the book, but I don't want to stall out with reading it, if that makes sense. Good morning. This is my braid from last night. It's kind of ratty looking, but I got up at an ungodly time at 5 a.m. for no apparent reason, for reasons unclear. I was just wide awake. And so I have been trying, like, since I have like the hard copy of my book, of course, like reading in the dark isn't a thing. So I have been finishing up. It's a series of fan fiction called Manacled, and it has been really, really good. I have torn through it. I have been unable to put it down. Everybody who recommended it was correct. It is very heavy. So I don't think I can safely recommend it to basically anybody I know because it's very, very dark. So I had intentions, so luckily I got up early because my boyfriend has to valet somewhere close to our house, and so I just drove him over there. And so I had planned, we live in a really pretty neighborhood, and I was hoping to catch the sunrise, park somewhere and read for a bit, but I just couldn't find the perfect sort of spot. I saw some beautiful bits of the sunrise, but it had already started before I started driving over to where I wanted to park. So my plan was a little bit foiled for that, but I still am planning. So the way the fan fiction is set up is that there's like 3 books all combined into one. And so I'm almost at the end of the 2nd book. So I'm gonna finish that and then I'm gonna get back to reading. What's it called? I want to call it Iron Flame, Onyx Storm. So I wanted to give you guys a reading update. So whenever I was in Dallas, which I think I'm gonna put in another vlog, but whenever I was in Dallas, luckily I was able to finish the original book that I was reading before I got Onyx Storm, and I was at like 80% of the book was finished. And so at that point, it's really hard to put a book down. It's just so, you're so invested at that point. So I really needed to finish that book so I could fully dive into this one. Basically, I was trying to read Onyx Storm during the day, and then I was reading that book at night because I had it on my phone. And this, of course, is, you know, paperback. So me finishing that book really, you know, handed over the torch that I could finally fully dive into this one. So I'm probably about 50% through with the book now, and it has been so good. My boyfriend likes having the fans on, and I don't. I am a fan of still air, I guess. We got a new chair, and it's very, very comfortable. And we have it set up like right in front of our window, which, I mean, it's a swirly chair. So you can, you know, watch TV. It's so comfortable. And actually, if you look right there, there's a birdie. But this is our view. Yes, we still have Christmas decorations up. The thing that has helped me read a bit faster is I was able to get an ebook version from my library. And so that means that I can read at night as well, which honestly is whenever I get the majority of my reading done. Or if I don't know, if I find myself scrolling TikTok too much, then I close out of it and I just go and like read my book. So having an ebook really helps me read a lot faster. But with getting the ebook, my family shares an Amazon account, and so I send the ebook to Kindle, and my sister is somehow, through the Kindle gods, able to also read the book. And so I can see where she's at in the book. It's just so funny because we just have a history of growing up and sharing books and almost like fighting over books, which, you know, my parents would probably say is a great problem to have with their kids. But we would fight over like who would get to read a book first, or how fast somebody was reading a book so they could pass it on to the next person. And so now that we're both reading this book, I'm feeling pretty competitive. She is catching up at an alarming rate. And I feel like after I finished Manacled, I feel like I was reading so much faster, but it's still never fast enough for your older sister. You know, they're always gonna beat you out. So now it's like a point of pride to try to read faster, but making it a competition definitely helps. Yeah, I'm about 50% through with the book, and I've really been enjoying it. I feel like, I don't know if it was a slower start because I was so invested in Manacled, or if it was a slow start because of the book. Because honestly, like upon reflection, it really does just drop you off where the other book ended. But it's not an exact continuation because it's almost like the characters have made plans at the start of the book and they haven't told you those plans yet. So I think it took about 20% of the book to sort of understand their plans for the beginning of this one, because it's not like they alluded to the plans in the last book. So I think that was the part that was not necessarily confusing, but sort of took time to get caught up on, the beginning of this book. I don't think it was like poorly written or anything like that. I think it was just me as a reader being maybe just a little bit impatient, I guess. And then I would say 30% into the book was where it like really full swing, you know, you're in it, and it really took off from there. And 50% in, I am trying to get to the end of the book so fast because like the action is just fully happening, like very invested in it. So I'm having a great time reading it so far. And yeah, I'm about at the 50% mark at this point. I'm really concerned with like, there's just some plot things that are so nerve-wracking, and I have no idea how I would write the solution. I think that's an interesting thing as somebody who writes, and whether it be a film or a book, there are times whenever I am reading a book or watching a movie and I'm like, man, I feel like I would have written a better ending to that. And so that ending was a little bit dissatisfactory for me, because this is how I would have ended it, or this is how I would have gone about it. I can't say that for this book, and I tip my hat to anybody, and maybe this sounds like self-grandiosing, or like however you say that word, but like I'm not trying to, you know, toot my horn like so much, but like anytime a book or a movie can leave me going, I have no idea how they're gonna fix this. Like, they have put themselves in such a corner, they've backed themselves up into a corner like so much that I have no idea how I would write this. What on earth is about to happen? And I think that's such a great feeling, because whenever something is predictable, it's just not as fun. It's just not as like invigorating for your imagination. So I think that's what I really love about Rebecca Yarros's writing and the series. So anyhow, that's the update on my book. I'm thinking I'll be able to finish it really quickly, because for me, like I said, with, you know, the 80%, once I get to a book, probably to 65%, which I'm really close to. But once you get to a book to 65%, that's the point, I feel like, where you're just like bringing it on home. You know, that's whenever you have your late night reading sessions and you just can't put it down, is like 65%. That's what I find for myself. But of course, the last, especially with Rebecca Yarros, like the last 100 pages are a whirlwind, or the last even 10 pages, like she fits in so much. I thought there was going to be a total of 6 books, but I think there might be a total of 4 books in the series. If that's the case, there's a middling problem where I find that whenever you're in the middle of a series, it's like I want to set up and lay the groundwork for a wonderful ending and lay all these little Easter eggs for the end and set up something wonderful for that last book that you don't do as much in this book, because you're saving everything for that end. I feel like there's a lot in this book where I'm like, I say a lot, I feel like there's one storyline where I'm like, I feel like I don't want to say anything like spoilerly, so that you don't have to rest assured that I'm not going to spoil anything. But I feel like there's an experience with a character that they've introduced that inevitably is going to come to pass. And I just can't see it happening in this book. So I feel like she's setting it up for the next one and for the last one, which is challenging as a reader to be like, I really think we're not going to see like this story that you're now setting up come into fruition until the next one, because you're like saving all of your good stuff for the end. We'll see. I just have some concerns about that happening, but we'll see. I'm gonna go read some more so my sister doesn't lap me. God forbid, you know? But the other issue that she has is that she works like really intense hours, and so she doesn't have as much time to read in the week as I do. So I do have a little bit of a home field advantage on that point, but also I don't want to, you know, I don't want to totally cheat the system. May the best sister win. Something crazy just happened in my book. What? Okay. 2 crazy things are happening like per chapter. Usually from one chapter to the next, something happens, but this was like in one chapter. Like we left one crazy situation and entered another. That's just wild. Okay, so I'm tucked in and I have like 50 pages left. So I'm probably going to be finishing it today. And I found like a perfect ambiance for these last 50 pages. I literally I am cold, but I literally also have chills because this is very intense. And like I said before, I don't know how they're gonna get out of it. This is the ambiance that I'm watching now, and the music is just so on point. It would not be a vlog of mine if we didn't hang out in my bathroom for a little bit. I just finished the book. I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything, but a character that I barely even recognized had me bawling. I do feel like it felt kind of like I said before about how it felt like it was sort of an in-between kind of book where she's setting up some situations that didn't quite pay off. And I think there's some things where she started to do one thing and then she pivoted and changed it. So I think I would have just maybe I feel like I would have had the plot go a different way, but that's neither here nor there. But now we have to wait another year to see where in the world she's going to take the series next. It was absolutely a trip to read it, and honestly, I just read Manacled, as we talked about, and that was amazing. And I feel like the only thing to follow up a book that I enjoyed so much, like Manacled, the only way to follow that up is with an equally amazing book, which Onyx Storm was. But now I am very worried about going into a rut, a little reading rut, because there's just no way to keep up the pace of good books that I've been on so far, because I would just have to be exquisite at picking out books, and there's just some books that you just don't vibe with. Got on my pants. Another reason why this is a super annoying foundation, but there's just some books where you just don't kind of vibe with it or you don't enjoy. But I have a hard time not finishing books, which means I get stuck reading a book for like way too long because I just won't quit it, which honestly is probably the perk of DNFing a book. The other thing I don't like about this foundation, I know we talk about it all the time, and we will be until I finish using it, but it dries so quickly that you can't even put it on your hand or on a palette to give yourself time to work with it. I have a feeling this is not gonna look good. It doesn't matter, I'm about to go to the gym. I just wanted to film some shorts, so I just wanted to quickly put on some makeup. And I feel like if I just don't use it, then I'm not going to get through it like ever. And it's way too expensive of a foundation to not finish. So using the heat from my hand to kind of soak in the product to the skin. I don't know, it is unfortunate because I do feel like the book wandered a bit. I don't know, I just hate complaining about things in general. I like to have a very positive attitude on things. Like, I mean, even whenever I'm talking about a foundation I don't like I don't like complaining, which I know, it's not very beneficial for a YouTube channel where things, people want opinions and people want very extreme reactions to things. That's just not totally how I roll, because I also just would hate to think about somebody reading my work and having a negative opinion about it or negative experience reading it. And I did not have a negative opinion or like negative experience reading Onyx Storm whatsoever. I just looked it up and it took me 10 days to finish, which really is pretty good for me. Like, especially for a book that big, like that's pretty fast. There were several days where instead of, say, just like being on TikTok, like I usually am, I spent like the whole day reading. I don't feel like it was the best one out of the series. I think it progressed the story a little bit, not as much maybe as I would want, or maybe as her previous books have. So I wouldn't say it was like in character. I think some of the reveals, like from hearing people's theories about the book, I spent a lot of time, you know, trying to gather my own opinion and then listening to other people's opinions about like theories and stuff like that. And I just don't think what the result was as interesting as what was theorized. And that's kind of disappointing. I think there's other reveals, you know, they're like theories that were right. I know this is super vague, so if you haven't read the book, but I think there's other reveals that happened that like weren't as explained as much as you would think they were because they were revealed. So I don't really like it whenever somebody leaves questions for the next book. Like then it just feels like you're writing for writing's sake. And like, well, I don't want to get to that yet. It's like, no, I mean, if you've brought it up and the main character in the book is addressing it, then answer the question, because you just gave it to your audience and they're gonna want to know the answer. Same as the main character. I do think the characters were well written, as usual, like as always. I thought we saw even more insight into other characters this time around, which is really cool and really interesting. Like you can tell that there's such a distinct character voice for all of the characters, and they're maintained throughout. Like it doesn't feel like they're all one character. Like they all feel really, really interesting and really unique. And so it just leaves me wanting the next book, which is definitely what a book should do whenever it's a part of a series. But I don't know, I told my friend, really good ending, but like the payoff, it's not like a satisfying ending, that it doesn't have like a very big payoff for having read the book. Like almost in a way where you feel like you're just reading part of another book. Like this was part one. And I think often she writes a lot of mysteries into her books. They are trying to like solve riddles basically throughout the book. And I just don't feel like there was a grand mystery that we were following this time at all. So I think that is something that is so integral to her works, that because it wasn't there this time, it didn't feel right. It felt more, instead of being a mystery where you're like going on like an Easter egg hunt and you're picking up one clue that follows into the next clue, it just felt like a sequence of events this time around, of like this happened and then this happened and not then this happened. It's like, oh, this happened, which leads us to this, and because this happened, this had to happen, which lastly brings us here. But I mean, it was also very captivating and very interesting the entire time. The book started to pick up probably around 20 to 30%, and that's not bad for a book. You know, sometimes it takes an author a lot longer to, you know, sort of pick up the action, but I mean, really from page one, you have a lot of action. And I think part of it too, this time around. I feel like certain characters knew more information than they were telling each other. And so you would hear part of a conversation. Because you didn't have the full context, you had no idea what they were talking about. And it's like, well, I don't necessarily want to have to wait until the next book for that context to be given. And that just feels like what happened this time. Usually that payoff happens like within the same book. You hear something and then that's a clue, right? Like I was talking about. That comes back around. But I just feel like a lot of the clues didn't have any resolution this time around. So I don't know, those are just some general thoughts. Ooh, if I had to rank the book, which, you know, I've heard a lot of discussion recently about even ranking books on a scale and how that's like, it's somebody's art. Like how can you even like calculate it? Because how can you also calculate the meaning to somebody? I do feel like they've made an impact in my life. Maybe not as deep as some other books, but like there's something that I'm going to carry with me throughout my life. Like I'm going to think about these characters throughout my life. One of the YouTubers I watch, she was talking about how every time she braids her hair, she thinks about Violet Sorrengail and she thinks about Katniss Everdeen. And it's like, it's that sort of thing where like the characters have made an impact in my life and I'm going to carry their memory with me. But I think I am trauma bonded to the ACOTAR series because that's what I was reading in my divorce. So I don't think it has like that as much impact as that did on my life, but I think that's also just because of where I was at in my life. Like luckily I'm not going through anything really traumatic right now, so I have no idea what I'm gonna do whenever I finish this product either, because this is my handheld mirror. Like I take it with me whenever I travel to be able to do my makeup, you know, if I don't have a big mirror. I still have a ways to go though. That's still gonna last me a while. I'm so close to finishing this product. But the thing about it is, I don't know how much is left in the bottom. So I don't know if I'm just gonna throw it away whenever I finish the top. Because there's two parts of it. Because there's the pencil portion and then there's like a powder. And I haven't used as much of the powder. So I don't know, you know, there's no way to tell how much is in that. I do enjoy throwing something away whenever it's done. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have the luxury of throwing this away whenever, like, I can't tell how much product is actually in that. I had another product. It's like this one, Benefit product, but it was a pomade like this one. But this one, I feel like you can tell how much, a little bit better about how much is in there. But with the Benefit one, it just lasted years and years and years because I can never tell whenever it was finished. So it's like, I want to, in a way, get rid of it if it's a dead product, but I can't tell if it's dead or not. Okay, this is probably ended up being a very, very long vlog, and I really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know if you have any book recommendations or if you have any thoughts on Onyx Storm. Just mark your comments with a spoiler warning at the top. That would be greatly appreciated for everybody who is in the comments. But yeah, let me know if you have any book recommendations because I'm really afraid of going into like a book hole where I don't know what to read next, and I don't have a book downloaded right now. So I'm really worried about that. So anywho, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. This video if you want to see more, you know, book reviews or more vlogs surrounding books, because I do read quite a bit. Not as much as other people, but I read enough. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you. Bye.